Growing up, parents got me a guitar. Said you could do anything, kid, you could go far. You could be the president, fireman, race cars. The sky's the limit, kid, so shoot for the stars. So I strum that guitar every day.
Hello, and thanks for watching Dares of Life, everybody. Now, I want to preface this video by saying, one, this is my opinion, and there will likely be dozens upon dozens of others with opposite opinions to mine. Also, I would appreciate it if you would watch all the way through the video to fully understand my points before trying to put me out to dry in the comments. Thirdly, I'm glossing over and skipping many points of history and pros and cons in this video. If I didn't, I could easily make this into a full multi-season TV show with hour-long episodes doing deep dives. For the sake of YouTube, I'm shaving this down quite a bit, but I definitely encourage you to look into the history of the automobile because it really is fascinating on so many levels. Now with that said, I want to talk about EV vehicles and why I think having them to be the blanket tech that powers all our vehicles is not the way we should be going. To understand why, we need to go back to the dawn of the horseless carriage, when it was first realized that the automobile could be a mass-produced and used product in and around the 1890s. Obviously this is before the Model T that let everyone afford a vehicle. We had three choices of energy that we could use to power these machines. The first was a well-used method that had been around in some form since the 1700s. It had powered trains and ships for many years at this point, and that's steam. Basic idea being you heat water in a boiler by some means. This boiling water makes steam. This steam is released into a cylinder. The pressure of that steam pushes a rod down. This movement is then transferred to the wheels, and you have movement of the vehicle. It had some problems though. The actual mechanics and specifics of the boiler systems were very, very complicated. This meant that at a time when few were highly educated, you needed an education to maintain and run these machines. There's a reason why we call engineers nowadays. Two, you had to have not just a water supply, but a second fuel supply of something to heat the water with, making the machines extra heavy and cumbersome. Third is they don't deal with weather extremes well. You left the boiler, the size of what a car would use, full on a particularly freezing night, so that it would be ready to go in the morning. You may not have a boiler in the morning. Not to mention, if you did still have one, you then need to sit and wait for the source of heat you are using to heat the boiler to boil the water before you can go anywhere. So obviously not something for the person in a hurry. Obviously these shortcomings killed off steam rather quickly. This left our second contender, electricity, to duke it out with internal combustion. That's right, electric cars are nowhere near a new concept. The earliest known prototypes have been dated to about the 1830s. Now, electrics have a lot of fantastic positives, as we all know, but let's talk about the negatives that caused its initial downfall in the War of the Drives circa 1900. One was that they were electric. That might sound odd, but remember, this is 1900. Most towns, let alone houses, don't have electricity in them. That makes charging rather hard. The second problem was the batteries themselves. This is the era of lead acid. So besides the literal acid and the weight of the batteries, you have the issue that when charging, all lead acid batteries give off toxic and flammable and explosive gases. Obviously not great in an era that had people puffing tobacco like chimneys. The final nail in the coffin back in the day for the original electric car was again maintenance and repair. Electricity was a fairly new concept to the general populace. To move the technological slider and try to put it into perspective, it'd be like me asking Joe Schmo on the street today, hey, can you tell me the ratio of radioactive fuel to control rods needed for a sustained safe nuclear reaction? See the issue? Our final contender was good old I.C.E, internal combustion engines. These had their downsides as well. They were loud, they belched out smoke, they had terrible vibrations. The thing was, those drawbacks when compared to the fact that out in isolation, they could have fuel brought to them with relative ease. They could be started in almost any weather quickly. They were simple, built and maintained by anyone with or without an education. They could be fixed if needed with a hammer, a belt, and baler's twine if you really had to. To me, that maintenance and speed of getting up and going is what made the difference. And it's why I think a blanket change over to EV nowadays is wrong. The pitfalls of the three haven't changed relative to each other since back then. If we look at ICE versus electric, electric has always been the faster and torquier propulsion. Always. That did do people out in the country or the cold any good. To get what I mean, let me ask you to truly zoom out of your own little world. We're all so good at putting ourselves in our own little worlds and our own little bubbles. Our planet is huge, beyond huge. Take a look at a satellite image of it at night and look at the city lights. You'll start to see there are huge areas with very little lights, yet populated areas. You are isolated if you live in these areas, and despite what the commercials say, many of those places do not have cell service. These places also usually don't have any garages or easy to get to help if you break down. I should know, I live in such an area. The other thing is, if it's cold and you need sustained heat output for the passenger compartment, electrics can obviously do this, but depending on the temperature, it can greatly reduce the range. Now, it's not uncommon for highways around here to get clogged by winter storms, people stranded in the middle of nowhere, not prepared for overnight stays in the woods. All they have is their car heaters to keep them safe. Police will try to evacuate the highways that clog like this, but it takes time. They can bring gas and jerry cans, or if any other fuel source that an ICE engine could run off of. They can bring that via snowmobile. But electricity, they can't do that. That portability of a fuel source, just like back in the early 1900s, is the big thing. That can save lives. Now don't get me wrong, EVs have a place, and I think the tech is amazing. But where I think they belong is in, say, a Fiat 500 sized vehicle, no bigger, in downtown cores of major cities, with small motors and small battery packs. Not only does this counter their weight problems, but it should reduce charge times, the draw on the grid, and the amount of certain metals that some companies source from, shall we say, dubious sources. In this deeply urban environment where charging is everywhere, you don't actually travel far distances. And if something does go wrong, help via tow is as easy as popping out your cell phone. I think this is the niche where EVs truly fit. I guess if I had to sum this video up, I think it's that we need to realize that saying you must be EV or you're wrong, as many organizations are trying to, is in itself wrong. They have a place, as do ICE vehicles. I think before we go all in, maybe we should do some history first and realize there's a reason we went ICE in the first place. Also, maybe look into different configurations of ICE that might be more efficient and still meet all our needs. Things like diesel electrics that use a micro diesel engine to provide electrical power to electric motors that drive the wheels. It solves most shortcomings of both EV and ICE, and the tech has been around forever in things like diesel electric trains. Anyway, I'm interested to hear your opinions and see how this video ages. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help me out and let me bring you guys more content faster. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
So we'll keep fighting till the end. And we'll keep fighting till we win. This is our calling, this is our call. Yeah, we'll keep fighting till the end. And we'll keep fighting till we win. This is our calling, this is our call. Yeah, we'll keep fighting till the end.
They can feel the storm, it's coming. They can hear the drum beat thumping. Off in the distance, we're the resistance. They gon' be the one who's running. They can feel the storm, it's coming. They can hear the drum beat